Hello again, everybody. It's Harry Boxler, a technical trader at TechTrader.com. These are the charts of the day. I'm going to show you the long style, although there were quite plenty of shorts. I do want to go over some of the better looking longs and some of the patterns that have developed. In keeping in mind, again, this is alphabetical. When you look at Acme Packet, you'll see that a long downtrend has ensued. In the last year and a half, it's come all the way down from the 83.4 zone down to the 13.5 area. And then what's happened is the stock appeared to have bounced, retested, and bounced again. This is a basing type pattern. The declining top line was taken out, and lateral price today was pierced slightly. Stock jumped 91 cents or 4.75% on 3.1 million. Now, if you zoom in a little, you'll see that it just poked its head up near these highs here. This was about 20.14. Today's high 20.24, closed 1997. But if we get an extension here, this is the key area. We want to keep a close tab on this level because a move through here could spike up and get into the low and then mid 20s. My target 25 and 29.5. The overall pattern, it looks constructive. The volume today was the heaviest in 3.5 weeks, and it did move out across the recent high to retest the September high. So this is a critical time for Acme Packet. We may see this start to accelerate here. Depends on what happens in the next few days, perhaps. APOG, a materials and construction firm. Nice overall pattern. Indeed, the chart's been in a rising channel for more than a year. And as you can see, the recent action showed a consolidation between mid-September and just today, when the stock exploded for 217 or 10.5% on a little more than 500,000 shares, which is the strongest volume in 2 months. More importantly, the stock broke out over key resistance laterally and is now testing the top of the channel. If this accelerates here, we may see it move into the high 20s, my next trading target. CREE Computing has been an interesting pattern for weeks now. When you look at a 2-day chart, you'll see that the overall structure here shows a base pattern, an explosive move here, consolidation zone or wedge took place, and the stock has been stair-stepping up in a rising channel, now reaching lateral resistance, jumping 62 cents or 4.5% today. Volume wasn't particularly heavy, but it was the heaviest in about 5 or 6 sessions, and we did break out above the what looks like a wedging type pattern here. Let me draw that in for you. And with that pop, any extension through here could get this one running into the mid, perhaps even high teens. Let's call 17 my next target. CREE, I really like the way CREE's acted of late. Now, after a long downtrend, we saw this stock drop all the way from the 2010 high up around 83 and change down to the recent lows last year, earlier in the session. Hang on a minute. Oh, down around, let's call it just above 20. Stock then snapped back into the low 30s, retested, double bottom there, and moved up in a choppy fashion. But the overall pattern is a nice basing action. If you take a look at today's action itself, the stock popped, although it didn't close extremely well. You can see that it moved up across key resistance in this zone today with a thrust of $1.09 at 3.4%. Nearly 2.9 million traded, and from a volume standpoint, the best volume in about 3 weeks, right there. So that augurs well for more upside, particularly after the price broke. Recent highs back here in all the way back in May, I should say, about 32.75 was tested today with a move to 33.60, and it closed back around 33. But nevertheless, the highest close in quite a few months, going all the way back to last year. And I think this base may be in the process of being completed. Look for a test of the 2011 highs up around 36.64, the meteor highs, and if 36.64 is taken out, we may see the stock move up in the low 40s. Facebook, I wanted to point out to Facebook aficionados that I feel like this is a stock that has formed a nice base after a big declining channel here formed, and then a wedge formed. It popped out, it pulled back in an orderly fashion here, exploded. This is the one key day for it, in my opinion, when it traded a whopping 230 million shares, breaking out, stair-stepping up to resistance, consolidating for 3-4 days, breaking out again yesterday, and a bit of a follow through today. Now it's up near my near-term target at lateral resistance, filling this entire gap from last August. So we may very well get a pullback or consolidation in this zone, but I like the momentum. I like the volume of technicals on Facebook. And at this point, I would not be shocked to see this make a run at 29.5 short term. And then maybe ultimately on an intermediate term basis, we can get this back on up to 32. For solar, we had a good day today, particularly during the midday when it spiked up through key resistance and I issued a swing trade on it. It is in a resistance zone. If you take a look at this low back in December of last year, and then this little snapback high that failed in that same zone. So we're coming up into that area. If we can get up to, say, 27.5, 3/4, we may very well see this move into the low 30s with a potentially ultimate intermediate target is in the high 30s. GMCR was basing beautifully before today's earnings release, but you can see the major declining tops line was being tested. This channel here was pierced in after hours trading as the stock announced great earnings and exploded into the 36 area before backing off. But I believe that tomorrow will be a big day for it. Wouldn't shock me if it filled most of this gap and got up to even near 39 tomorrow. That would be a huge move for the stock. But certainly, even if it's only up a few points, it's going to break out above the September high of 33 and change. And that could mean we will see the stock on a new uptrend, depending on volume and the thrust we get, and of course where it closes. But I like the way GMCR broke out of this declining tops line and lateral price resistance into the gap in after hours trading, and we'll see if we can get an extension and maybe the beginning of an intermediate move. IMMR had a big day today as it exploded for 35% on 1.2 million shares across this declining tops line. Now, if we zoom out on it, you'll see that there's major highs up in this zone, up around 7.25.5. That would be my short-term target. If you can get up through that level, it's a major breakout of a year-long base, and then maybe we can make it up into the high single digits. Medifast, key breakout day today. As you can see, it popped 205 or 7%, nearly 500,000 traded. It's a fairly thinly traded stock, and that's the best volume on an up day in about 4 weeks, breaking it out across key resistance to test secondary resistance right here. But a stock closed within pennies of its high for the day, augurs well for more upside, and eventually, if you take a look at the overall channel that it's in, a very steeply rising channel, then perhaps 36 would be my near-term target, with 39 or so my secondary target. OfficeMax with a beautiful base, breakout and flag. That flag then broke out for a little wedge, and that exploded before pulling back to retest the breakout point above key resistance in that area. Notice that for 3 or 4 days, it stood there and consolidated on low volume. Today, moving up 42 cents or 4.4%. 2.5 million traded, 2.6 million, the best volume in about 5 sessions. It appears to me that either this is on a new uptrend or virtually close to being a takeover, and we'll just see what happens here. But my near-term target will be about 13.5, 14 zone. Smith & Weston continues to act well. This rising channel that has been in for the last several months continues in a choppy manner, of course. Top of the channel, bottom of the channel, top of the channel, bottom of the channel. Continues to do that. Now this one didn't quite make it to the top of the channel and backed off to form a wedge, but today's action popped at 54 cents or 5.5% on 3 million. Also pretty decent volume for it. And what I'm going to be watching is that line carefully here, just about at this day's high around 11. Through 11.15 or so, I believe that this stock's going to make it up to the top of the intermediate channel. I could take it as high as 13. And lastly today is Taser. It's been acting absolutely fantastic of late. Here's a weekly chart to show you something. The massive 3.5-year chart and the major declining tops line both have been taken out with a recent thrust. Now breakout here, consolidate for a few weeks actually, excuse me. And today's pop, let's look back at the daily, takes it out through this 4-week consolidation as volume surged to 1 1/3 million, more than that even. About only a 2% gain. Nevertheless, you can see how it reached near the top of the channel and backed off. That was testing 9 today, closed 872. But the overall structure of the pattern indicates to me that more upside may come, but it would have to take an angle ascent or acceleration, I should say, that gets it up near 11, my next target. We'll see what happens with Taser. whether or not we get a pullback consolidation in that zone or not. But in either case, eventually I do think we get up to 11 on this one. And that's it for tonight. You guys have a good evening. We'll talk to you later.